chciałbym, żebyście mi pomogli przywitać pierwszego z prelegentów, który jest właściwie... I'll switch to English to introduce him because his speech is going to be in English. So jeśli ktoś potrzebuje tłumaczenia, to teraz szybko powinien wybiec tam na wprost i wziąć sobie zestaw do tłumaczenia. Because the next two talks are going to be in English. Okay, so the next speaker is the Chief Representative and Assistant Dean at Chong Kong Graduate School of Business. He's a global influencer in startup ecosystem, and he's the mastermind behind startups expanding into China. He's leading the project China Start, and you know it's a major paradigm shift because so far we had startups wanting to expand into the US, but now China is also an important market to tap into, and that's what he's going to talk about. The title of his speech is Unicorn or Dragon: How to Tap into Chinese Market for Growth. Please give a warm welcome to Bo Ji.
Thank you very much. Dzień dobry. This is the only Polish I can speak, so I have to switch to English. If you don't like English, I can also speak in Chinese. Your choice. I bet you're going to choose English. How many of you have been to China? Please raise your hand. A few of you. But how many of you think about China? What do you think about China? It's big, messy, and big. What else? Let's hear this gentleman. Let's play a video to see what this gentleman talk about China.
Let's say China. China.
China.
China.
China.
China.
China.
China.
China.
China.
China. You go over to China. 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 You take China.
China.
China. I love them. China. 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 I have to have my China. China. China because China. 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 China.
China. China. China. China.
China. China.
China.
China.
China.
China.
China now. China. China. You know, China.
I know China very well. China. 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 China.
China. China. China.
Northwest Wisconsin, where I'm from.
It's China to me. China. China, 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 China. You want to buy from China? That's great. Buy from China. Buy toys from China. China in particular. China. China. I have people that I know in China. China. China.
China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China.
China. I've been saying China.
China. China. China.
China.
China. China.
China.
China.
China.
China.
China.
China. China. China.
That's enough. Let's give him a round of applause. I have never seen a president of a large country talk about China without much essence. Now, while we're laughing at him, this might be one of you. We talk about China, we hear about China, and we even have been to China. But how much China has something to do with you? In this conference, I was very fortunate. The organizer realized the great potential of China, and he invited me to speak here. So many startups, when they expand internationally, particularly from Europe and Eastern Europe, they first consider America. The reason for America is because very obvious reason. First, language. You speak English. You don't speak Chinese. Second, culture. It's Western culture. So you understand relatively easily of American culture. And third is regulation. America has known and fairly transparent regulation. So that makes things easier for startup to expand internationally to America. And business system and network. But we all learn in our life, anything good also comes with something bad. The bad thing here is there's clear over competition in America, particularly in Silicon Valley. You go to Silicon Valley, there's all kinds of startups from all over the world going there, wanting to have a piece of the pie and fighting for the funding. And your valuation are usually not fairly evaluated by Silicon Valley because you are not from there. You're going there to take a piece of them. You have to work really hard. Your technology doesn't have clear advantage. Silicon Valley will say that this is me too. We already have it. Why we would invest in you? And finally, the consumer in America are very sophisticated. That makes it very difficult. So however, China represents a new horizon, a new opportunity. Now I want to bring you back to 200 years ago, in 1820, when China was the largest economy in the world. At the time, this red curve actually represents the total GDP of China as a global GDP. That number is astonishing 33%. European as a whole was 27%, and India 16%. America is barely 2%. So what happened between 200 years ago and now? If you study the history, you understand. There's the first and second Opium War initiated by British Empire. Because China was so big, so strong, everybody is jealous. They started to attack China. And First, Second World War, Civil War, and et cetera, China going down the hill. Until 1978, the Chinese leader, Deng Xiaoping, decided to open the China. So China started to ramp up. In 2002, there is one large event, that is China joined World Trade Organization. From that point forward, China stepped out of China and start to become the world manufacturer. So that's why we see today a lot of made in China products. Now, according to the British magazine, The Economist, China will for the second time, became the largest economy of the world by 2024. This is not my prediction. Actually, my prediction is even more aggressive. In my lifetime, I predict we will see China to be twice as big as America economy, which is the second of the world. Now, if you follow my logic, I will share with you a little bit later on why I reached to this conclusion. Now, China has 5 to 6 times of the population of America. And yet, Chinese consumption level is exceptionally low relative to America. America is an economy, what we call in the business school, highly leveraged. What does that mean? It means that you don't have money, you can still consume. That is a brilliant concept that Wall Street invented, and all the schools across the world start to teach. If you have the ability to borrow the money, and doesn't necessarily mean you can return the money, you're just fine. So I always joke around to say that there is a final American dream. That is, when you die, you still owe people money. And you're gonna laugh at your coffee and say that this guy was screwed up by me. This bank got screwed up by me because I highly leveraged them. So if you follow this logic, you will see, if Chinese were to consume not even the same, let's say half of what American consumer to consume. Let's use one example of chewing gum. American consumer chew average 179 pieces of gum a year. This number for Chinese is 19. It's about 1/10 of the American consumption. If China can chew let's say half of Americans chew with 5 times of the population, and you will see the Chinese economy would be 25 times of American economy. So that's what we're talking about here. So on the other hand, China is very big and it's growing rapidly. There is a World Bank data show out of the total global growth, economic growth, China take up 50%. So if the growth is coming from China, why we are sitting here and start our business, but it has nothing to do with China? In the 80s, 90s, 2000, all the companies go to America because that's where the economy is growing. But now China is growing. So our thinking is behind. Our logic is outdated. We need to go to where the growth is. Now here, China Start. This is the program I started. China has very strong appetite for the Western technologies. I see Chinese grocery store. There is a Polish milk selling there. I see Paul Farmer. You perhaps know, the medicine is selling in China. Anything from Europe are considered to be superior than what is produced in China. For those of you who went to China know, the Chinese welcome the Western people, Western startups to go to China. They have enormous hospitality of welcoming them to China. And lots of Western brands, as you can see here on this chart, that are made it very big in China, including very unhealthy and terrible brands such as Coca-Cola. What is Coca-Cola? It's not healthy, but they are the #2 market of the world in China. Zara, fast fashion, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken. I can name a lot of them. Even Starbucks coffee. Imagine, Chinese never drink coffee before. We are a nation of drinking tea. And why Chinese would welcome Starbucks coffee? When they first enter Chinese market, they are smart. They say that, let's do a franchise model. Let the Chinese investor to invest in the real estate and build a store. And we charge a franchise fee. We sell them the. What a smart idea. But that smart idea quickly turned into a big disappointment because Chinese drink so much coffee. You won't believe it because they don't go there to drink coffee. They go there to social. They go there to have that table. They go there to have this trendy atmosphere. So when Starbucks Coffee realized that, they decided this is a mistake. We should invest ourselves, and we make more money of that way. So you see, anything sell in China, that is very amazing. I speak all over the world about this. And I wake everybody about the potential, the willingness, and the reception of the Chinese market to all of you. You are in a very privileged position. You're here in Poland. Maybe you are buried in, country, but you go to China, you will shine. And China also have lots of wealthy investors. China now has more billionaires than America. More billionaires than America, and this number is growing. Our business school contributed to most of those billionaires because most of them are students. So I have lots of billionaire friends. I wish they could donate some money to my pocket, but this hasn't happened yet. Now, so China has 1 billion mobile internet users. Look at this number. The US is only 200 million, and UK is 42 million. So where should it go? The future is mobile internet. A few things about China startup scene. First, 60% of the unicorn are from China. I met a unicorn in JD.com, where I was doing a keynote speech. And I will be in Shenzhen to speak and to have a fireside chat with another unicorn who is doing the robotics. So there are so many of them. Many of them are actually our students. And second, Alibaba is the largest RPO in the world. And Jack Ma happened to be our student. He studied at our business school for 2 years. And he took one of our professors to be his chief strategic officer. Later on, took another 2 with him. The non-Chinese company that come to China, and their revenue source from China became 40% after merely 2 years. And China has so many co-working space, incubators, fund. I will not bore you with those figures, but Chinese government just announced 240 billion of the support to the startup ecosystem. Chinese government have one credit that I must say, that is they're very rich. They own half of America. They're the biggest debt holder of America. So they have lots of money to support. When a government have a propaganda, but no money, then nothing happens. But when a government is rich, has lots of money, they make things happen. So that's what we're talking about. I will briefly talk about top 12 industries for the unicorns to be created in China, which I call them dragons, because the Chinese are a nation of dragon. So we don't use the word unicorn. But dragon is much bigger than the unicorn. But because I only have 3 minutes left, I'm going to quickly scan through. We're going to talk about new retailing. The China is moving to the new concept of online, offline combined. So in the future, Jack Ma said the era of the pure e-commerce will disappear. In the future, we're not going to talk about e-commerce. And Alibaba is already doing that. They combine successfully e-commerce with offline retail stores. I'm going to skip some of this. Blockchain is phenomenal in China. If you're in the blockchain, talk to me afterwards. There are many investors hunting me, asking me to bring the new projects to China. And China now has more patents filed than America in the area of blockchain. And we have lots of companies, large companies are using it for the application. FinTech, China, most of consumers are using mobile payment. It's quite astonishing for me to see, travel around Europe, to see people are still using cash. Every time I see people using cash or write a check, I almost want to hold their neck to tell them, this belongs to 70s. Wake up, man. 80% of the Chinese consumers are fine with total cashless life. When I've traveled to China, I don't bring any cash. I use my mobile phone, which is fairly large, to do anything. If I do a haircut, I use the mobile phone to pay. I go to a restaurant, I pay. Hotel, I pay. Anything. Transportation, we have the bicycle company that put bicycle all over the city. You can ride it and leave it any place you want, and this is truly amazing concept. And I really don't have time. Healthcare. China is growing at 22% annually on the healthcare, yet our per capita consumption of healthcare is still very, very low. Logistics. E-commerce has a lot to do with the logistics. China has a very big logistic market and the largest in the world. Take up about 40%. Cloud service is very big in China. Ali Cloud is doing exceptionally well. Education, 25 to 30% of the family's total income are spent on education. Chinese love their children to be educated. They spend any money on this, so you should really focus on this area because they are willing to spend the money. In online education, we have produced lots of unicorn. AI technology, Chinese robots are doing operation. They are the busiest, top busiest 3 robots are in China doing operations on patients. Self-driving car. And I have a student who are actually doing that, very successful. Tourism, Chinese tourism are everywhere. Yeah, 25% of the global tourism are from China. On average, they spend about 5,000 euro when they travel in Europe to do shopping alone. Amazing. Here is the 60-second how Chinese social media works, and you will see a lot of happening there. Clean tech, China is heavily polluted. We need a lot of clean tech solutions for that. So I'm going to skip some of those, and you need to talk to me if you wanted to understand more. But finally, I want to just say China Start is an amazing program that will happen in June 4th to 8th this year. We bring you to China, meet with 500 leading Chinese investors, and meeting a lot of CEOs, chairmen, and any industry that you wanted to have, and for 1 week. So here is my contacts globally, so feel free to take a photo and connect me in the LinkedIn. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful event, and if you need me, and find me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Boji.
I'm good on time.
Our next speaker is a Chief Innovation Officer at ING Group. But what's more important for you as startuppers is that he had a startup in the .com. That's interesting to ask about during the breaks. And he's also head of fintechs for ING. He's responsible for establishing 150 partnerships with fintech startups. He's also involved in the VC fund at ING called ING Ventures. They have 300 million euros to distribute to startups. So I think he's a good person to talk to in the breaks if you need funding or if you need advice regarding startups. And now he's going to give a talk. So please give him a warm welcome, Benoit Legrand.